Give me your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Well, welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It's a special show here with myself, Steve Wyss, and Nigel Seeley, because there's some serious breaking news today. Those of you waking up stateside, Ruben Amorim has been fired by Manchester United. He's been under pressure for a while. Things have come to a head, and now Manchester United have pulled the plug. Nigel, how are you doing on this? It's known as Black Monday in the States. And it's certainly Black Monday over here so far.
Yeah, good morning to you. That was a very chilled out music. I don't think that's the kind of tune that we've been played in the Old Trafford manager's room this morning when Amorim was called into the meeting. Well, it didn't come as any surprise, did it really? I mean, his comments after the performance yesterday at the press conference where he questioned whether he was a manager, he was a coach. He questioned what he was. And it was clearly a pop at the board, and it was clearly a pop at the sporting director there, Jason Wilcox, who's his reluctance to stop playing the formation he wants. He wanted to keep that, and he was probably come to a head, and he didn't like being questioned. And then all of a sudden, he threw his toys out of pram, and this morning he's got the sack. And exactly the same thing happened 48 hours or 72 hours previous to that with Maresca at Chelsea. And this is the modern way of football that we run now. You know, you criticise. It's like that in any walk of life. Though. If you criticise your boss, you're going to work today and you're not happy with your boss, and you go out there. He wants to be the manager, and he sort of named previous managers and big name managers, and he didn't feel he's had the right to be manager. But you manage on your results, and the results for Amorim and Manchester United since he took over have been dreadful, absolutely dreadful. So, not surprised at all. Not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, he actually ends his record at Manchester United, 25 wins, 23 defeats, 15 draws. I think he was lucky to survive after losing the Europa League final in the summer. That was a really, really poor performance against Tottenham Hotspur. But there's those who've said recently this is probably the best they've actually been under him, certainly in terms of the underlying metrics, probably points as well in the table. They are actually in the top 6 in the table. The last 2 draws against Leeds and Wolves are probably not acceptable, but half the big players are out in the African Nations Cup. I mean, I think there's 2 problems. Amorim was never the greatest fit for Manchester United because of this system issue, but the way the club's actually run at the top level, this has been an issue for 6-7 years, Nigel. You know, Jason Wilcox is there now, and it felt like it was either going to be the manager or the board, and the managers also ultimately paid the price. I suppose over his actual tenure, he can't argue too much with it, though.
I'm just going to pick you up on a couple of things you said there. You said that Manchester United is their best run under Amorim. Well, they've only won 3 in their last 11 in all competitions. They've only lost 2 in 11. So you can look at it in 2 ways and turn around and say, okay, yeah, they're not getting beat. They're creating chances. But this is a team that, I mean, how many hundreds of millions has he spent on these kind of players? Now, they are currently 6th, but I think there's only about 4 points between 6th and 14th in the Premier League. You know, but it's the performance of 2-2 draw at Nottingham Forest, a 2-2 draw at Tottenham, a 1-1 draw at home to West Ham, who put in the worst team in the Premier, 4-4 against Bournemouth, you know, a 1-1 draw against Wolves, a 1-1 draw yesterday against Manchester United, and the wins. I mean, the win against Newcastle, they won 1-0. How on earth they won that match? I still don't know. The manager has just had. I think the manager was out of his depth slightly. I mean, you know, all due respect to the managing in the Portuguese league to come to the Premier League at a club like Manchester United is a big jump. And Manchester United just haven't got the right man in since Sir Alex Ferguson has departed. You look at other teams in that period of time. Liverpool have landed with Jurgen Klopp. Chelsea have had good managers who've won titles, Ancelotti, Conte. In that period of time, Manchester United have had 6 permanent managers in 13 years. And this is their 5th This is their fifth interim manager. David Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Ten Hag, Amorim, and they've gone for a fit for the caretaker manager as a former player. Darren Fletcher now is in the hot seat. He's the fourth former player out of 5 to steady the ship. Giggs, Van Nistelrooy, and Michael Carrick. So, okay, yeah, they have had some good metrics, but it's like we use this metric so much as a cop out. You know, we speak about betting on the channel regularly, and this is what is a betting channel. But you can't go to your bank manager and turn around and say to your bank manager, if it was on the metrics, I'd have £500 more in my bank account than I did now. So you can't go to your director of football, and you can't go to the chairman and turn around and say, well, you know what, we did create a lot of XG and we had to do it, but we got relegated. Well, there you go. It's about results. It's a results business, and Manchester United weren't on results. Some of his statistics are absolutely unbelievable. 47 matches in charge in the Premier League, only 15 wins. And in 63 matches in all competition, he only won 64 matches. 24 matches, 38% strike rate. That's not good enough. That's not good enough for sort of any mid-table team, let alone Manchester United. And since he was in charge, there's only one manager who lost more matches in the Premier League matches than in the same time as he was in charge. That was Ange Postecoglou. So it isn't a shock. But what was a shock was him taking to the airwaves yesterday and criticising his owners. With statistics like that and the money you're on, you should keep your mouth shut. To be fair, Maresca going on and trying to challenge his owners and the way that Chelsea run the club, he has a little bit of justification because he's won the European trophy and he's won the Club World Cup Championship. But Amorim, to tear all the people who pay his wages on that record, he wanted out. He wanted out and he got out. And now, what are the ramifications for Man United? Where do they go from here? But Amorim, he'll rock up at a low-level Premier League club. We'll rock up somewhere back in the Portuguese league, and he'll do well. But this was the wrong man again at the wrong club, and that is sort of a copy and paste job that we're having at Manchester United Football Club at the moment.
Well, I think ultimately, Nigel, the system has let him down. He rarely changed it. Ironically, that win against Newcastle was one of the few matches he did change it. That said, though, a lot of the signings at Manchester United in the last 12 months have been criticised. Maybe he didn't have much of a say in some of these players, it seems. He's lacked control. He said he wanted to be the manager of Manchester United, not the head coach. That's what he was amplifying. So I don't think he's just entirely to blame for all of this. I want to welcome everyone in to chat. Loads of suggestions already, by the way, in terms of Carlo Ancelotti. Some are saying they should go for him after the World Cup, potentially. There's going to be the Fletcher's in charge interim manager. What are Manchester United going to do long term? Now, I think they made a big mistake getting Amorim in mid-season last time. They should have waited till the end of the season. Surely this time they learn from that mistake, Nigel, because it's really hard to get the man you want in January, isn't it?
Well, the problem that Man United have, and this is their big problem, is they've got some big matches in January, some huge matches. I mean, they're out there, they're in with a chance of getting into the Champions League, a remote chance, but they're in touching distance. Their season can implode inside 4 or 5 games. So they're in touching distance to get the Champions League. They need to get to the European football minimum, so that they're in a good position to get that with their current league position. They've got Burnley away in midweek, which is, arguably probably one of the easiest fixtures at this moment in time. I think Burnley are currently the worst team in the Premier League, even worse than Wolves on current performances. So that has helped them. And I think Fletcher coming in will galvanise the team and it'll certainly change to a back four straight away. So I think that will suddenly say, look, we can play under a different system. And the players, I believe, will react for him. But following from that, they've got Brighton in the FA Cup. Massive match. Now, the FA Cup is all they've got to play for in terms of silverware this year. So that's a huge tournament. That's the next match. And you've got a team like Brighton. It's not like you're playing a League Two club. You can remember they got beat by a League Two club in the Carabao Cup. That's when he should have got the sack. Then they've got Man City. And then they've got Arsenal. Now, that's in January. This Man United, this season could be all over for them in January if they don't get anything from these matches. Or they can do it. Now, I don't think the way the Manchester United model previously has worked is, like I said at the top of the show, you bring in a manager or a player who's got a connection to the club, who the players respect, and they get some kind of performance out of them from what was a sinking ship. But I think this needs someone in with experience. You need someone in with experience, and I'm sort of suggesting someone to come in because I think they'll probably target a couple of people, but whether they can get them in straight away, I'm not so sure. We're going to go through the runners and riders, but I think you need an experienced person to come in and steady the ship and get them through the next 6 weeks, and then try to get someone at the end of the season who will come in and take over the club, and try to get someone to the end of the season. I don't think they need to rush it, because rushing the appointments in the past have seen why they've gone through 11 major managers and permanent managers. And this is a massive club. This is a huge club, one of the biggest names in football. The stadium's falling apart. If you've been a Manchester United, you get you're sitting in the posh seats. You get soaked through the rain. I mean, other clubs in this country have overtaken Manchester United on the pitch and off the pitch. And the first thing you need to do is stability at a club, and you need the manager or the coach, whoever on the system. But what he did yesterday, he woke up. He was given a bollocking after that Leeds match by Jason Wilcox, or the performance, or why question and he showed petulance and got himself sacked. And that's what he did. And he deserved it. And he thought he might have. Maresca was the one I felt more sorry for, because he'd brought trophies to Chelsea. But this guy, the results weren't good enough. He wanted out. And now the ramifications, not only for Manchester United, for other clubs who their managers are going to be linked with here, are huge. And this is not going to be the end of the managerial sackings. I think there's going to be at least another 2 or 3 in the next couple of weeks. So it's a crazy time to be a Premier League fan of any club at this moment in time.
This is the 6th managerial firing in the Premier League already this season. I mean, you mentioned names that are under pressure. Thomas Frank at Spurs is certainly one. Sean Dyche at Forest. No one's ever safe at Forest, are they? And then obviously Nuno Espirito Santo at West Ham. Apparently, I mean, that's El Sacico, isn't it? The match tomorrow.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if. Sorry, I jumping a little bit ahead of that. I think if Nuno goes, then it wouldn't be a massive surprise to see Amorim turn up at West Ham. I mean, that's the kind of job I think he would do, and he might do a good job there. It's a big club, but Amorim, he come with such a good reputation. So this Sporting Lisbon team was playing unbelievable in the Champions League, and then it was like, and even Liverpool looked at him. I was reading an article this afternoon. Liverpool looked at him before they went with Arne Slot. But his reluctance to change, and the fact they looked at his tactics and he wouldn't change that formation he has, they didn't think they had the players at Liverpool to be able to do that. And no team has ever won the Premier League playing that formation that Amorim sets out, apart from Chelsea back in the Mourinho days. Football's changed, and he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed with it. And his reluctance to change and his petulance has cost him his job. And fair play, really, fair play.
A guy called A says, who do you think will be the caretaker? They've already said it won't be Fletcher. I mean, so in the short term, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been linked today, I do believe already. Let's play matchmaker here, Nigel. Who do Manchester United need now in the short term, and then the long-term manager who's the best fit? Also?
Well, I think Man United, someone with some experience, someone who can calm the club down, and someone who's good in front of the media. And I think, if you ask me, I'm not saying people are going to criticize me as soon as I say this name, they say you can't manage, but I think Gareth Southgate would be a perfect steady the ship appointment for Manchester United right now. He's been out of work since taking England to the Euro finals. He's an absolute dream for media. He'll divert every kind of negativity from the club. He is very close to the owner. Radford knows him quite well. There's players there who will play for him. Mainu, who didn't get a look in at Manchester United, was a key part of Euro. He'll get the best out of them straight away. Young English players respect him, and I think he would be perfect. The style of football will not be great. I think it'd be negative. He hasn't really managed at the top levels in Premier League, but obviously World Cups, semi-finals and European finals, he's done that. And I think he would be absolutely perfect. He lives up north, as you told me, Steve. He lives not far from you. And I think for man management and steady the ship, he's perfect. Is he the long-term solution at Manchester United? No, certainly not. But he has been linked with the club before Amorim. When this new ownership took over, Southgate was well in the conversation. and he would be, for me, the ideal replacement right now. There's talk of Michael Carrick. There's talk, this talk of Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher's got 2 boys in the first team squad. He's got to be their manager and their father as well. I mean, there has been Nigel Clough and Brian Clough, and there has been managers who's managed their sons, but it's not an ideal situation. And these matches of such high magnitude, Brighton in the FA Cup is massive. City, Arsenal, massive matches for Manchester United. I think for a young coach, why would you want to put yourself, in the firing line for that? So Southgate would be my appointment now. Safe pair of hands, straight down the line, brilliant media man, steady the ship, and then try to work behind the scenes to try to get your ultimate man you want at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it's hard to actually disagree with you there, Nigel. That wouldn't be a bad pick, actually. Gareth Southgate, he doesn't live far from me. It would be an easy commute for him. He is very good with the media, and I think that's more important in this day and age than anything else. I think Amorim, ultimately, they had to get rid of him. He hadn't shown enough over his tenure, and it's maybe not the worst time to get rid of someone that you are. Look, I know they've said that they're probably not going to sign many people this transfer window, but it's Man United. I'm sure they can get a couple of new deals in if they want. Kobe Minu, you just mentioned him there. He's a big winner today.
Yeah,
they didn't get on. I expect him to come back into the team now and stay. He was linked with a move away this January.
He'll start against Burnley and score, and he'll say they'll go back 4. Mania will come on and he'll score 2 goals. Yeah. No, that's how football changes. Just one other thing I was going to say. Ineos, who own Manchester United, obviously Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, the way that the Premier League is now very much like the NFL. The NFL, the way they're structured, we've built the Premier League years ago is to be the chairman and the manager manage, and now obviously, the technical director, the sporting director, the fitness coach, and all this kind of stuff. The manager sort of plays second fiddle, sometimes third fiddle to people, the owners, and then the technical side of things. So football managers now are just asked to coaching. They're just asked to coaching, not necessarily need to do the managing. The people behind the scenes identify the players, and old school managers don't like that. They don't like that. The game has changed. But Southgate, again, is an absolute perfect company man. The way he represented the FA, he was an FA man through and through. He'll be a company man. He will say all the things. He will have no problem working with a director of football. He'll have no problem working with Jason Wilcox. He'll love the opportunity to come back to the Premier League. He'll be brilliant. And I think that is the modern manager now of these big organizations. You can see exactly the same with Chelsea. They're going to hire Liam Rosina today from Strasbourg, and he is exactly that. He is a corporate company man who does the coaching and lets everybody else find the players and manage the players, and agents don't deal with the manager anymore. They deal with this guy and they deal with that guy at the club, and that ticks another box for Gareth Southgate.
Jazz made a good point, actually. He was lucky to last as long as he did, but they're 6, which is about right for the quality of the squad. And I think the question that I've got for you here, Nigel, and probably Chelsea as well, for the remainder of the season, what should we expect from Man U and Chelsea on the field? Because it's quite debatable where they should be. But there's definitely plenty of weapons for the new managers to work with at both clubs, I would say.
Well, there's only 4 points separating Man United 6th and Crystal Palace in 14th. So a couple of losses in these matches, they could be in 14th position. What do I expect from, yesterday, take Chelsea, for example, the performance from Chelsea yesterday after the manager's gone was a very good one. Second half, they were excellent. They thoroughly deserved the draw, and the guy in charge was a manager, the assistant manager at Croydon Football Club, which is just unbelievable. Mike Bassett kind of stuff there. But for Man United, I think it's going to be tough, because even with Amorim, those 4 matches they've got are difficult games. They've got key players out injured. They've got players at the AFCON, massive players at the AFCON as well, and they need them back. You need big leaders. You need big players at times of crisis. And at this moment in time, there is no leaders around. Harry Maguire is not there. Fernandes is not there. They're a very young group, and to go through this kind of stuff with a young manager and experienced manager at this moment in time is a bit of a negative for them. And that's why I think you need someone to steady the ship. That's why Southgate coming in would be great, or an experienced manager to come in. But I mean, when you get a manager comes in, everyone says that you can only ways to go up. But and if they can convert their chances, they can go up. But this is the transfer window as well. So Man United have made it clear they're not going to spend any money on the transfer window. Chelsea will probably spend money in the transfer window. So whoever comes in, this is what you've got to work with. You've got this to work with. And it's good enough. It's good enough. I mean, on their day, Mbumu, Fernandes, Sesko's been a bit of a disappointment, but he's young, give him time. That should, and with a new system, Mainu coming into it, there is positives there for Manchester United. But I think getting someone in with experience is the key, because it's a very, very inexperienced squad at this moment in time. When the players come back from the AFCON, but the season could be done then. Those 4 matches in January are massive, 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 massive.
I mean, you mentioned sort of earlier at the start of the show, there could be a domino effect now, because, I mean, I must say the Premier League at the moment feels, to me, I'll use one word for it, chaotic. Like the managers that are constantly under pressure. But there will also be clubs who will be looking over their shoulders and thinking, we don't want Man United to nick our boss. I'm thinking Crystal Palace, for an example, possibly Fulham. Do you know what I mean? And also managers across Europe, perhaps, as well, could be.
Well, I think that Manchester United, I don't think Zinedine Zidane or they're going to, Man United, big managers across Europe want to come into a club at European football, play Champions League. They're not. I can't see him going to Man United at this moment in time. If Man United was in the Champions League quarterfinals, or they're in the group stage of the Champions League and second, and he said this, then I think everybody in the world would want to go, because they could win a potential chance of winning a Premier League title with them. This Man United side at this moment in time, I don't think he's going to attract some of the big players out there. So when you look at the list of contenders, I mean, top of the list is Maresca, who's just left Chelsea. I think that is a very, very, very bold move for him. I mean, he just walked away from Chelsea, who are basically going to do exactly the same at Manchester United. He's not going to be in control here. So, I mean, I just cannot see Maresca going to Man United. I think he might hold out for a job overseas at the end of the season, or potentially go to Manchester City, where he's always been linked with a number 2 job with Pep, and probably take over Man City in time. He's managed at the top club, won the World Club Championships, and his stock's quite high. But I can't see him going to Man United. And he's over here. He's the most likely person to do that. I think Glasner is the one, the Crystal Palace manager, because he plays a system, a very, very, very formidable system. He knows exactly how to work. He has the 3 centre halves. He has the 2 fullbacks who bomb forward. He has a system that is really hard to break down. He was wanted by Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich was the number one. He was their number 1 choice, ahead of a company who went there in the end. And I think he's out of contract at the end of the season. You can poach him up now. Wouldn't cost you anything. But I think he's got loyalty to Crystal Palace. And also, he's got so many problems at Crystal Palace at the moment, with so many players out. He's got injuries. He's got players who are at the AFCON. He's got players who are running on empty. And he's just been able to spend £33 million on Brennan Johnson, but he needs at least 4 more players. So he can use this as a bargaining tool to say to the owners at Crystal Palace, I need some more money. And they all know that Man United are going to be around the corner. So I think if I was watching this news today and the news come through that Amorim has been sacked, if I was a Crystal Palace fan, I'd be very worried, because he's the best manager they've had in their history. He won the FA Cup from last year, but did beat some great Man City in the final, Aston Villa, some brilliant performances. When they're just running on empty at the moment, hence the results. It's nothing to do with him. Small squad, lots of competitions involved, and they just run on empty. He's got brilliant out of Wharton. He's made him to a proper player. Eze, he made into a great player. Elise, another player that come through him. Mateta, now the centre forward for France. Is he the centre forward for France? But he's doing well. And I think Glasner, out of contract, you could get him, and I think he would be the one. So I would go Southgate, Glasner. The other manager who's always linked with these kind of big jobs, who's probably got that in him as the Premier League manager, is Roller from Bournemouth. But I'm just not quite sure whether it's a right move for him just yet. I think he's more likely to be part of Arsenal, potentially. Obviously, he lives in the same town as Arteta, and Arteta's good friends of his, so Erodium might that. And then you got players, you mentioned Ancelotti at the World Cup. Well, Pochettino has been linked with Man United before, obviously the American manager. I know he's not going down well with the American fans. They don't like watching him. He's a bit of a they're not really happy with the way that he's set the national side up, but he's been linked with Man United many times before, and he's a world-class manager. And Thomas Tuchel, I mean, his contract only takes him up to the end of the World Cup, and if he can get beat in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, that would be deemed as a disappointment. So Tuchel could be out of contract, but I think Man United needs to wrap this up now. And, Tuchel can't make a decision whether he wants to go to Man United. If you win the World Cup, it'd be United and he'd be the manager for 4 or 5 years. But I think you need to make a decision now. So if I was sitting there in the board at Manchester United, it'd be Southgate to the end of the season, and then I'll be working behind the scenes to do whatever I can for Glasner.
I've just had a text from a Man United fan, and he said, "I want Jurgen Klopp as an interim until the end of the season." I mean, imagine
what you want and what you get might not be isn't the same thing. But I mean, there's absolutely no chance. And there's more chance of that at Sean Calvert buying the round at a Christmas party.
Who's next out? We'll finish in a minute, Nigel. Who do you reckon is the next one out? Because this is like a merry-go-round at the minute in the Premier League. It's absolutely bonkers.
Well, I mean, the results this midweek are going to be crazy. I mean, Thomas Frank is under pressure, but the fact that he's doing well in the Champions League is saving him from that job at Tottenham. So I think he may be okay, even though the performance. And also, to be fair to Thomas Frank at Tottenham, he's got 10 first-team players out injured at the AFCON. He's, big players, Madison, Solanke, Kulichevsky, huge players for them that are out. So I think he'll be okay. And if he keeps getting results in the Champions League, he'll be okay. Arne Slot, massive pressure, but they're unbeaten in 9, lots of draws, but the performance haven't been great. But if they can just squeak in Champions League football, they spent a lot of money. He will turn around and say, well, Isaac's injured, Salah's gone to the AFCON. It's a lot to take out of any team, that. So I think he might be okay. Nuno from West Ham, I think his body language is finished. He doesn't want to be there. And if they want to stay in the Premier League, I think they've got to make a change there. Either he goes or they get rid of him. If he goes, Jack Wright came out with this stat today. I'm not going to take credit for it, but he said it's the first manager ever to be sacked twice by 2 Premier League clubs in a season. So that will be an unwanted stat for Nuno. But I think Nuno at West Ham has to go. And the other one is Sean Dyche. But I think the owner of Nottingham Forest is a bit of a hard man. He's a bit of a tough nut. And I think he wants to have a tear up with Sean Dyche, I think I might have to bet Sean Dyche. So I wouldn't be rushing to give old Sean Dyche a sack yet. But I think Nuno from West Ham has got to be the guy next. He's got to be. So that performance, 3-0 against Wolves without a shot on target, and that is a bad thing.
It's bad. The Silent Night Owl said Arne Slot could be. I mean, that's the craziest thing about it. There's still quite a lot of managers who are literally on the hot seat in the Premier League, or a warm seat at very least. Nigel, thanks very much. Who would you
take for? Who would you like to? Who would you suggest for the Man United manager? You've asked me about it, but who would you like?
I think the interim's a difficult one.
Now, like it as not a Leeds fan. You'd want that guy who managed Chelsea yesterday, but as a Leeds fan. But who do you think will get the job?
I think I agree with you. Southgate would be a great interim. I think they've got to make the next permanent manager make that decision in the summer, because there's going to be managers available after the World Cup. There's going to be managers out of contract in the summer, and it's just the best time to get the man you want. Glasner would be a great pick, I've got to be honest with you, because wherever he's gone, he's won trophies. He's got the best out of his teams. The thing is, Man United are now not right at the top level, are they? Not a top 3 or 4 team consistently. And I think that would suit Oliver Glasner.
I'm not quite sure.
He's turned down a lot of places.
I don't know if you can wait to the end of the season, because it makes a huge difference. Because if Man United are in the Champions League, say they get to the Champions League, then the person who's got them there would be the front runner for the job. You then need to spend a huge amount of money, and it's whether you trust that manager spending that money. If Manchester United finish 14th, then a lot of the caliber of manager isn't there. But I think if you have made an approach now for Glasner and said to him, you've got the opportunity to manage Manchester United. We don't know where we're going to be next season. We could be in the Champions League. We could be that, but we've got an interim manager in the season. You told the interim manager job, if you get us into the Champions League, you're going to get an X amount of money bonus. You get us into Europa League, you get X, and you win us a cup, you get a bonus. Everyone's happy. And if at the end of the season, Glasner knows what you get, that would be me.
I think you're right about Glasner, though. He has a lot of loyalty. And do you remember last time they went mid-season with Amorim? Amorim never wanted to leave Sporting mid-season. He wanted to stay to the end of the season, win the title there, and then go in the summer. So if you move someone on when they don't want to be moved on, although Glasner, he's not signed that new deal, has he yet? So maybe he'd be more approachable than what Amorim was. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
FGA Football said, get Nigel for the top job, get him off this. Let me tell you something, FGA, I wouldn't take the pay cut, mate.
Kingsley says, get Oliver Glasner. Emery isn't good at big clubs. So, Cesc Fabregas is a possible as well. Of course, he was linked with the Chelsea job, doing a great job there at Como. Join me in an hour and a half, where I'm going to be joined on Betting Weekly Live with Paul the Hitman Hughes. So we'll pick his brains about Amorim as well. Is Eddie Howe under threat at Newcastle?
No, he's not under threat.
He's not actually under threat. But Nigel, thanks for your thoughts.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Please
Premier League show's out as well. We've just done the Premier League show this morning, and we've got a better Betting Weekly WTA tennis show as well coming a bit later on. So it's been a busy day today. And we'll be back tomorrow with breaking news when not the Forest and the Wolves manager gets sacked as well.
Loads of content here on Because We Win. If you're watching on demand on the replay, put in the comments who you think Manchester United should get and what they should do in the short term as well. So thanks, Nigel. I'll see you whenever we're on together again. I think Wednesday, me and you on the live show.
See you Wednesday, mate.
Join me in an hour and a half with the Hitman. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.